Hey Granny, you're here for Old Guy on a Bike. If I was to tell you you could have a gravel bike tire that had the performance you were looking for, with a nice casing, a good compound, good ride characteristics, and you could have that all for under $50, would that interest you? Well, if it does, you're going to want to watch this video coming up. So first, let's take a look at American Classic and who they are. The name you probably remember from days gone by of being wheel and hub manufacturing. They bought the name from that company when Bill Shook decided to shut it down, and it's a good name. So it's kind of nice to see it back out, even if it's for tires. As I understand it, American Classic as a company now made tires for other people under other names, and they wanted to have the tires under their own brand. So here you go, American Classic tires. So American Classic has a pretty full line of tires, road, mountain, and gravel. Seems like they have the most models in the gravel range though. And they kind of go from a very mild, which is the Kimberlite, which I have, to a little bit wilder one with a pretty good amount of knobs on it. So it seems like there's something for everyone. So the Kimberlite here, which is what I have on review, you can tell by looking at it right away that it's not one of the more aggressive knobby models. It's got a pretty pronounced center tread with a little bit of file tread on the side of the center, and then it kind of moves into a diamond knobs and a little bit more of a kind of a catch-all aggressive knob on the very side. So it's an interesting looking tire. Now this comes in a 700 by 35, 700 by 40, 700 by 50, 650 by 47, and 700 by 45, which is what I have here that I've been riding. So that's a pretty good range of sizes. Should be something for just about everybody. The American Classic website actually is really quite well done. They will call out for each tire how they think it should be used, what it's good at and maybe isn't good at. And they'll have a usage chart there. You can see they're really quite good. Now they also have, their casings are 120 TPI, which is actually pretty impressive. That's more threads per inch, and that typically will result in a more supple ride and often makes up for a armored casing, which is what this tire has. This has a protective belt and whatnot to try and keep it from getting damaged. They also have multiple versions of casings that are protective. So in this case, the gravel is a stage 5S armor construction, and it also says it has the Rubber Force G gravel tire compound. Now I don't know exactly what all of that means. I don't know what Rubber Force G is, but if they did tune the rubber characteristics toward gravel, and if they did a good job, that's a good thing, and we're going to find out. So American Classic offers this Kimberlite in several different sidewall looks. You can get black, brown, what do they say? Black, tan, and brown. Okay, black, tan, and brown. That works for me. It doesn't say if there's any difference in the casing underneath, at least not that I can see, so I'm assuming they are all the same construction underneath, which is not always true for every tire. Sometimes the the tan wall casing is a different construction than black wall. So anyway, hey, let's get this thing on the trail and find out what it does. Now I use this Kimberlite over several different kinds of rides, and one of them that I was the most impressed with when I used it was a section of where I'd done a video on the old ridge route. Now that starts off in a pretty smooth pavement, turns to poor pavement, turns to absolutely horrible pavement. In some places, the road's really just completely coming apart. And on one of the rides, we actually took about a 5-mile climb completely on dirt up on a sandy road up onto a mountaintop just to, see what was there, because it was a beautiful day. And I was kind of impressed with the Kimberlite. I thought I was taking it a little bit out of its element on that purely dirt road. It actually was really quite impressive. And it absolutely rocked on that bad paved road of that old ridge route. Yeah, that was a really good first impression. But now let's get it out on trail and let's sum up our thoughts a little bit more. Well, back out on the American Classic Kimberlites, just doing a little local loop. This one is pretty much all dirt, where the other rides have had a lot of pavement, even if the pavement is absolutely terrible. One thing I like to do when I'm testing a tire is to take it just a little bit out of its environment, see where it starts to falter, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes they surprise you. Now, American Classic calls this out for pavement and hard surfaces and hard dirt, but you wouldn't expect it to be a, you know, a tire that has enough knobs to dig in for loose conditions and mud and whatnot. But I'm going to take it up into this dirt area. We're going to see what it does, because so far it's been quite good, with some reservations. Anyway, we'll push it a little bit again tonight. We'll see what happens. Up the trail I go. So when I got the Kimberlites out of the box, I weighed them, and they weighed just pretty much advertised weight, just a little bit, a few grams over 600. That's a fairly weighty tire for a gravel bike, probably the heaviest tire I've used. But to keep some perspective, it's a 700 by 45. It's a big tire, and it's got that big center tread of it, you know. There's no knobs, so there's no spaces in between the rubber, if you will. That adds to weight. And it's also tubeless ready. That's a very nice casing on the inside. I mounted them up tubeless, took a compressor to get them to bump, but they did. Pretty supple feeling. It wasn't a problem, and they haven't leaked sealant one bit. So like I said, I set these up tubeless. I mounted them onto a one of the wider rims that I have. It's a Hunt Four Seasons gravel extra wides, okay, in the alloy. So they're 25 millimeters internal, and on that rim, after several rides, it came out to just a little bit over 46 millimeters wide. So they definitely hit the mark with calling out a 700 by 45. Interestingly enough, the tire has a bit of a flattened curve to it. It's could be because of the rim, could be because of the tire. I never mounted it on like a 21 millimeter rim. That would probably pinch that in a little bit. But a tire this wide, you know, it really kind of deserves a wider internal rim than 21, at least that's what I think. Now, as you might imagine, a tire with this big of a footprint probably would be pretty good in sand, and it is. In fact, in this silty stuff here we've got going on, pretty deep and poofy, it's pretty much cruise through it nice and straight. And I found that to be true for sand too. And yeah, that's pretty good. It doesn't seem to want its own way. Very nice. Okay, that's all good. So how does all this weight and width handle on the trail? Well, as far as the weight goes, can I notice it? Yes. Yes, you can. I notice it mostly like when I get out of the saddle on a little rise in the road, you know, where you need to accelerate a few miles an hour or maintain speed. I notice it there. I can't say I notice it any other place. I mean, when it's just rolling along, it rolls really well. Certainly that's not a problem on hard surfaces, certainly, and through the sand. But yeah, that weight is there, it's undeniable. The width and the shape are kind of interesting, because what I first noticed when I started riding it, it doesn't want to turn in very quickly. What I mean by that, to come off of center to initiate a corner, takes quite a bit of effort. And you know, it's a big tire. It's almost, you know, these are getting to the point of being almost a small mountain bike tire. So you might expect that. But I think that flattened shape has something to do with it too. So is that a big deal? Well, not really. I mean, here's the thing with a handling trait like that. Unless it's evil, right? You just get used to it, and then it's normal, and you forget about it, and it's just the way it is. So it's not a big deal. But here was my biggest surprise of all. I'm finally going to get around to it. How do they ride? All this technology at what I'm going to talk about again in a minute, a bargain price. I would expect them to be kind of wooden, maybe a little dull. Nuh-uh, not at all. I was very, very surprised how absorbent these tires are, really how supple they are. So like that first ride at 35 pounds on these wide rims, there's a lot of sharp edges in that ride. Broken asphalt, potholed concrete, just choppy. Places where the road is just going away. Kind of rattly. It would really mellow that out. Really, really impressed me. I did not expect that. Let's see what we get. Yeah, but how do I know what I won? There's no marking on the wheel. I don't know. Pretty cool, right? How often do you get that on your local trails? Well, that was a fun descent coming off the top there. And you know what? I'll tell you, this tire continues to impress me. I'm surprised how fast I could go. I mean, the volume in this thing and the suppleness of the casing just really was soaking up the bigger rocks that are embedded in the road here. It deals with the sand. It felt very hooked up on the hard corners. And the only time I would really look sideways at this tire and think, you know, if I was crossing ruts, if it was really loose, you know, difficult, you know, you'd be getting in over your head probably. So what do we have here in this tire? It's certainly a solid performer with 120 TPI casing and the belt protection and a rubber compound that seems to do very well in gripping this hard dirt. It's big volume, it's stable, you know, and it's $45. $45. You know, most gravel bike tires, you're looking at $65 to $80. So this is a considerable savings. And then in this day and age, that's not a bad thing. So who is this tire for? Well, you know what? I think, as I think about it as I ride it, I think it'd make a very compelling bike packing tire. And I do bike pack when I have the time, which isn't very often, not often enough. But the volume, the way it rides, the tough casing, this would allow you to roll really quickly on paved sections, deal with bad roads, and if you found, you know, some dirt lane or some mountain pass you need to get over, you're not going to die, right? This tire is going to hang on pretty well for you. It's a very impressive tire. I don't know how American Classic exactly did it. It seemed like they did an awfully good job. I would love to try more of their tires. In fact, I actually ordered 2 of their 32 millimeter road tires for my wife's new e-bike because I want to try them, because if this is that good, those were $40 a tire. I want to give them a chance, because maybe they got it going on besides just this tire. Maybe it's that good everywhere. I don't know. I'm going to find out. And I really would like to try some more of their gravel bike tires, and I think I'll get a chance to do that at some point. In the meantime, thanks very much to American Classic for sending these to me and no charge and letting me try them. I'm very impressed. You guys did a great job with this. And yeah, what else can I say? Old guy at a bike out. You guys take care.